The worlds of health and fitness have changed. It's no longer about being skinny. It's about being jacked and skinny. 10 of the oiliest trainers in the country paired up with 10 mostly healthy women to act out this compete to see who is strong. Oh boy, let's talk about Strong. Strong is a NBC competition reality TV show that originally aired in 2016 but was recently just put on Netflix. NBC describes the show as NBC Strong is a competition show like no other. Contestants are embarking on a transformative journey in order to reach their full potential. As they will learn, it's not necessarily about losing weight, but rather about finding the balance between mind and body. It's about getting strong. The executive producers of the show include David Broom, who you might know as one of the creators and a past executive producer of The Biggest Loser, which they point out as if that's something he should be proud of. They have Holly Wolfhard, who has produced a large amount of competition reality shows. Then Kevin King Templeton and Rambo himself, Sylvester Stallone. On that bit about The Biggest Loser and the NBC description, this show does stray from the normal focus of these style of shows, where the focus is normally to lose weight, but instead this show is looking to have the contestants build strength and build a healthy lifestyle more than anything, which I think is a great message. That being said, I definitely have some gripes with some of the framing in the show, the editing, and more, so let's kind of get into that. The show begins with an opening challenge between the 10 trainers while the trainees watch. There's no prize for the winner, it's more of like an exhibition. The 10 trainers consist of Leon Azubuike, a professional strength conditioning coach from Santa Monica, California; Todd Durkin, a personal trainer and author from San Diego; Kai Evans, a personal trainer and ballet dancer from Marina del Rey, California; Drew Logan, a celebrity trainer and nutrition expert from Manhattan Beach, California; Matthew Miller, a strength and conditioning coach from Las Vegas; Wesley Okerson, a personal trainer from Los Angeles; Adam von Rothfelder, a strength trainer and former MMA fighter from Milwaukee; Chris Ryan, a personal trainer and fitness model from New York City; Dan Wells, a gym franchise owner from Studio City, LA; Benny Wiley, a strength and conditioning trainer from Tuscola, Texas. I did pull these descriptions off of Wikipedia. I will be honest about that. Some more information about one of them. I know Dan Wells was a CrossFit Games competitor.
I finished 14th in the world out of 20,000 in the CrossFit Games.
Benny Wiley is currently the director of sports performance for the University of Oklahoma football team. And the contestants that we have on the show are Jill, Brittany, Nicole, Jasmine, Mahogany, Giovanna, Cece, Devin, Sarah, and Victoria. I don't believe they give us their last names. The 10 trainers are all men and the 10 trainees are all women. I'm assuming this is to have like a sort of equal playing field and to make creating challenges a bit more straightforward. A lot of these guys, they're about the same size, like height-wise and everything. Obviously, their strengths lie in different things, and that allows them to pull out edges in certain events. And that same thing happens with the women even early on. Some of them just have certain characteristics that do better for certain events. Some have better grip strength, some are better with their legs, like their legs are stronger, some are faster. After the exhibition completes, the trainees pick their trainers, and we have our teams cut to the training facility. Whatever facility they kind of took over for this, it's pretty great. Lots of different equipment and ways for the teams to train. It can really fit all these different styles these trainers are bringing to the table. We have gotten a few introductions at this point, both trainers and trainees, but they spread out the introductions over the first 6 episodes of the season, and there's only 10 episodes in this entire first season of the show, and there is only one season of the show currently. In these introductions, we're given some stats, which include their age, their weight, their resting heart rate, and body fat percentage, and we get this information for both trainers and trainees. The accuracy of the body fat percentages given seems kind of all over the place to me, and it makes me think, at least for the trainers, they submitted their numbers themselves. They also may have submitted numbers way in advance and then come on to set, with a different sort of composition. I'm not too sure, and there's a whole lot of factors at play. Resting heart rate seems like such a strange thing to include. While lower value does normally indicate higher fitness level and health, all contestants were within what would be considered a healthy range. But I have an inkling of why it was included, which we'll talk about later. The order of introductions kind of causes a problem. They aren't going to eliminate a team that you haven't been introduced to, which makes it a little obvious who's going to go home at times and who's not going to go home. Many of the trainees' introductions are pretty sad and kind of ultra personal.
My husband cheated on me.
My parents are in the middle of a messy divorce.
Oh, you only pick on Sarah because you like her. And he goes, yeah, right, I could never be with Sarah. I couldn't afford to feed her.
And then there's Jill's.
My name is Jill, and I'm the mother of 4 kids. My husband is an associate pastor at our local church.
All of the men, obviously, have very manly intros, and they really want to sell the viewer that these 10 guys are 10 of the top fitness trainers in the world. Format is still kind of confusing at first, since they started with the exhibition in the first episode. There's only one challenge as teams in the first episode, but the normal episode formula is there's a medallion challenge where the winner gets a medallion normally worth about $25,000, or I mean, it is $25,000. And the last place team is slated to go to the elimination tower. Then there's a second challenge to determine who gets to send a team to the elimination tower. A mechanic of the show I like is that if a team that placed last in the medallion challenge gets first in the second challenge, they win back safety and then can pick 2 teams to go to the elimination tower. You might be asking now, what's an elimination tower? Well, it's basically a tower of different types of strength tests to get to the top, and the team with the best time gets to stay. When a team is eliminated, they give their medallions to whoever they please, and they can split them up if they have multiple. The competition format as a whole is pretty solid, and they change up the format somewhat during the later episodes. That, brings some twists into things, and it keeps the competitors on their toes. I wish winning the tower won you the medals of the losing team, because it might even give some amount of incentive of going to the tower and fighting it out. But with it being a reality show, they use the giving of the medals as a way to kind of give props or thank their friends or whatever. It's tied to the narrative of the show. The challenges in the show are pretty hit or miss in quality, I would say. I also feel like the order that they did many of the challenges in was poorly placed. The team challenge in the first episode seemed rather intense for relatively untrained individuals to participate in at all. And some of the challenges later were on the easier side than, ones that they did previously. I feel like they could have changed up the order, and it could have just been a little more competitive in a sense. Like the first challenge, it felt like people were out of it like very early and were never coming back in, and that's kind of what happened. And then some of the challenges had some technical difficulties.
Can't go any lower. Something feels weird. Whoa! I can't go any lower! We figure out that our pin had fallen in. I pulled the pin and I was like, finally! God! Ready? Now we can go.
There were some challenges done solo by either the trainer or the trainee, which I thought was a nice touch. It makes me think that they might have had a plan where they could swap around challenges to allow either group to rest if a previous challenge may have been especially strenuous for them, which would be smart. Some of these challenges force both trainer and trainees alike to carry the slack of their other team member. Now that we've kind of fleshed out the framework of the show, let's talk about the fluff and things that are outside the competition of the show. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but this show feels heavily scripted and forced at times. I feel like when I'm watching most team-based competitive shows like this, they normally create a lot of their drama and narratives from interactions between the same members of a larger team or between contestants in like free-for-all formats. The duo format works for most challenges, but I feel like it harms the overall narrative that they're trying to build through the show. They want you to see the teams as one. They might have some struggles and they might argue at times, but they're a unit. But when there is conflict and drama, it normally feels like the blame is laid on the trainer most of the time, and the trainee is not normally included in that same blame at all. And with the type of show it is, it makes sense. They don't want the trainers shitting on the trainees. They're the ones trying to make them better, but sometimes it's hard to build a narrative around a show that uses themes like this about, trying to get stronger and better. It's not just a competition, it's more than just a competition show sort of thing. This is a change I feel like comes from the current day criticisms of The Biggest Loser. When you're juggling this many themes, when you're trying to fill it with drama, but also trying to make it about bettering yourself, and then you add the competition element, there's just too many hands in the basket sort of thing. There's too many themes you're trying to please. They want you to see the trainers and trainees, these teams, as friends with the other teams, but also as competitors with the other teams. But then the drama is just not really real then. Contestants don't always talk and converse as a team, even when it comes to decisions of the game. But it feels like the show is fighting itself to create a narrative. In the first episode, they wanted to make the nomination segment of the episode very dramatic and just filled with drama. And they really try to build up to it, even counting down the hours remaining until the nomination period. The way the teams talked about the nomination process leading into the decision was weird and awkward.
I mean, you don't think they would pick like a Benny or a Jill to go in?
They do. Benny would be pissed, and I would not want to have Benny pissed at me.
Not me neither, shoot.
I don't want you going home.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not going home.
Well, maybe it should be Benny and Jill.
And after they announce what team is being nominated to go to the Elimination Tower, there is drama and hurt feelings.
I'm glad you said it's now business.
Hey, man, this is not about me picking a fight.
It's not that you want to. You've already done it. So at the end of our channel, I said I'm dead to you, remember? You're a ghost talking to me now.
I can't believe he said that I'm dead to him.
These people have known each other for about 4 days, maybe a little longer due to getting footage for introductions and stuff. The trainers may have, known each other previously in some way, but a lot of them, it seems like it's their first time meeting. So why does Adam care so much that a guy he more than likely has known for a very short amount of time says he's dead to him, to the point where he sounds like he's going to cry?
He said that I was dead to him, even after that night in Paris.
It is not uncommon for shows like this to edit it in a way to cast contestants in a certain light or to create narratives that they think will be interesting to the audience, but this feels like active producer interference to create conflict. This is the most egregious example in the show, I think, but as you watch, you notice just the way they talk feels quite odd in how they present things, especially when they're talking about nominations. At times, teams will seemingly have complete 180s in logic for the nominations. Now let's talk about the product placement and statements made by the trainers, because it sort of ties into the feeling of it being manufactured, and the statements by the trainers are more than likely fueled by a lot of the product placement. Boy, do these trainers like Fitbits, Subway, and supplements. They do not go into the details of diets very much in this show. The most they talk about diets is when they're plugging an advertiser, one of which is fast food and the other is supplements. And Jesus Christ, these sponsor sections are hard to sit through at times. They are set up and scripted, and we get Fitbit and Subway ones 3 to 4 times throughout this season. It's so bad. When I was doing some research for this, I found someone who had clipped one of the segments from this already. I'm assuming from the NBC run of this show. So it's obvious how egregious this is. One of the only other times they really talk about food is when they're making dinner. And one of the trainers makes a sort of healthy pizza and calls normal pizza crap pizza. When one of the few statements that they make about food is something like this, I really don't like it. Demonizing food is not the way to get somebody on a sustainable path of health. Making food sound bad or off limits to people is counterintuitive. You want to eat a mostly healthy and nutritious diet, but bad pizza every once in a while isn't going to ruin your progress or anything like that. And acting like you should be staying away from pizza or something is just dumb. And then the supplements, unless you're deficient in some way, micro or macronutrient wise, they're not necessary for progress. Can they be something that can help you? Well, yeah, definitely, but supplements are not a necessity. A trainer also mentions the anabolic window in this.
Great job training today.
I feel like I just burned a whole bunch of calories.
You did burn a ton of calories, girl. It's time to eat.
Yes.
Always within 30 minutes after your workout, you want a great post-workout recovery meal. So I got you a special gift today, a special Subway 6-inch carb turkey.
Which is just not a thing. It's been a long disproven thing. And I can't believe shit like this is still pushed in modern like fitness culture, even if it is by, not all these guys are celebrity trainers, but they're like towing that line. Like a lot of them are celebrity trainers actually, but you know, it's a lot of hoopla. The Fitbit ads are just as egregious and forced. They mention fat burning zones, which is just like, man.
We're gonna use your Fitbit just so we can track your 3 zones. As you can see on the app here, it shows how many steps you've done today, and then it shows your current heart rate. Once we start, it'll track that heart rate, and we'll go through the circuit. Hit the button. When the 2 are above the heart, you're in fat burning zone. So you burn 68 calories in 8 minutes.
Is that good?
That's really good. I know when you're dogging it, and when you're not dogging it, I can tell if you're really working out. So it's awesome.
Fat burning zones do not have a wealth of research behind them, and the amount of fat you're burning while in these zones is not significant, especially for less trained individuals. A calorie deficit, a sustainable diet, and consistent exercise will yield better results than simply training in fat burning zones. Some other weird statements that we get in the show are like Kai, where he's really pushing the fact that he's a natural athlete in one of the episodes, which is just very sus. I will say that the trainers have been good about focusing on working within the capabilities of the trainees. They push them, but they also know that they have their limits. I feel like we really don't get to see much of their training though, just little glimpses with not much substance. I feel like more in-depth talk or showing of even some of these trainers' methodologies would be interesting, but also that's something I'm interested in. Your average TV watcher probably is more interested in the weird drama shit, but I don't know. They also do well to be respectful in how they talk about the changes of the contestants, which is a good segue into talking about the transformations. At the end of every episode, when a team is eliminated, we get the trainee of that team's transformation. All of the contestants on the show made pretty noticeable transformations of their bodies, and these took longer than the runtime of the show to complete. I believe the winning trainee even had one. They compare their stats from when they started, but they do not tell us how much weight the contestant lost. Again, resting heart rate really just doesn't matter. All the contestants had heart rates in the normal zone. I think this was just all Fitbit crap. Their claims about lean muscle growth are ridiculous, especially for the winner of the show. Hers was like just especially heinous. They claim that she put on 24 pounds of lean muscle while also cutting down to a supposed 12% body fat. I will confidently tell you she did not do that. These types of shows and Hollywood in general are terrible about smudging stats like these, which leads to uninformed viewers having drastically unrealistic ideas of what is attainable. When you advertise the 10 trainers in this show as some of the best in the world, and they go along with a lot of the BS that this show does with the Fitbits and the fat burning zones, and the most that they talk about nutrition is when it involves Subway, and then they bring up the anabolic window, and just these really misleading stats, it leads to the show losing legitimacy if the viewer does any amount of critical thinking or research. This is a show about people getting into shape with a wide variety of trainers, and we hardly get anything more than surface level explanations of their training methodologies, and instead we get uninteresting drama narrative. I feel like they could have leaned more into showing the viewer things about how these teams trained and how the trainers geared their training styles to the trainees, and it would have just made the drama bits more digestible. So, final thoughts, even though those were kind of final thoughts as well. Strong is a fitness reality show that doesn't have a lot of the problematic qualities that shows like The Biggest Loser has. The format of the competition is good, but I think the aspect of having teams of 2 hurts the storytelling. The challenges could have been ordered better, I think, and allowed for better progression alongside the trainees. The competitor intros and trainee transformations present muddy statistics, some that really don't matter, and others that are greatly inflated because most people just don't know any better. They tried way too hard to create drama and tension between the teams. It just annoyed me more than anything. I didn't find anything about it interesting. It's not like an episode of Survivor or something. The drama just felt like I wanted to skip through it. The adverts are almost infuriating at times and show that the show is just willing to sell out. And that sort of sell out feeling like makes me not trust these trainers. But, you know, there should be no worries about getting another season of this show since Stallone, Todd Durkin, and NBC were all sued over this show. Robert Fletcher, aka the suer, claimed that he came up with the idea for the show and enlisted Durkin as a host for it, pitched it to a company called 25/7 Productions, and sent a proposal to Stallone's publicist even. According to Fletcher, Durkin cuts off contact in 2015, and Fletcher hears about a show coming out in 2016 that was very similar to his. Has Durkin on it, Stallone as an executive producer, and credits 25/7 Productions and 25/7 Productions CEO as creators. I could not find anything online about how this court case played out or anything, but it likely muddied the chance of the show ever getting another season. With the show being added to Netflix and everything, I could see it getting a second life in a sense, but I don't think it's going to. It's just an overall mediocre show. But there is a dog in it, and the dog is great. It is Drew Logan's, the trainer's dog.
I did not come to this competition by myself. I have one of the few heart service dogs that there are. He'll alert me if there's a sharp increase in cortisol, which is a hormone that our body secretes in relation to stress. His name's Lucky.
I completely forgot to record an outro for this video, or end it in any way. So hey, video's over. If you liked it, make sure to hit like, make sure to subscribe, follow me on all my social medias. I'm streaming every weekday on Twitch. I'm going to eat a 7 million Scoville or 9 million Scoville gummy bear whenever I hit affiliate, do a whole stream about it. You know, it's a fun time. Go check out my podcast. I've done one episode with my friend Gerg, and we talked about streaming and stuff, and I'm editing another episode where I talk about KOTOR with my other friend, and I'm going to be recording another episode this week. I should probably try to record some episodes in advance and get them all edited, but we'll see. But yeah, just follow me on stuff if you enjoy the content. Make sure to like it. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.